Hello, Dave Hadrian here from Paradigm Games, and today I'm going to talk about the various choices you have when playing UFO Wave. One of the things that happens with UFO Wave is every turn during the game you'll get a myriad of different choices based on what cards you've got, what cards your opponents have, and also what's currently on the scan. And this is an example that I've laid out, a mid-game example to take you through the many different options that are going to be available to you with these particular card layouts. So let's have a look at what we've first got. So I'm playing this game, I'm playing as the Reptilians. They are the kind of evil species of the game. I've got extra ET points if I claim harvests off the scan, and also my Terrorise power is auto-activated. The plan cards I've got in my hand at this current point of the game, we've got Warp Reality, Dimensional Shift, Terrorise, my favoured power there, Saucer, there's a Craft, and Stealth Mode, another power there. At this point in the game, I've unfortunately had a man in black led to me, so they're currently sitting in front of me watching me. Let's have a look at the opponent. So I've got one opponent in this particular setup. They're playing as the Greys, which means that they're after abductions. They get extra points for abductions, and their paralysis power is auto-activated. The cards I've currently got in their hand are Premonition, Hotspot, Shapeshifter, Mind Control, Protective Aura. They happen to have the Believers human watching them, which is a positive human, will actually give them extra cards at the start of their turn to draw from. So that's the current setup. Let's have a look at what's on the scan now. Now from previous videos, I won't go to great depth as to each of the card types, but what we've got is a Destructive Energy, a level 5 Crop Circle, level 4 Abduction, that's their favoured one, Military, very bad human there. We've got a level 3 Harvest, that's my particular activity type that I want to try to get. We've got Positive Energy, and then lastly, another human on the scan, Skywatchers. So let's have a look at the many different options that are going to be available to me. Let's say it's my turn in the game. Well, first of all, I may decide that I just want to take something off the scan without using any of my powers or craft cards at all. So let's have a look at what we've got. You can't automatically take an energy. Energy has to be claimed by taking the thing alongside it. So if I wanted to, I could claim that level 5 Crop Circle is a very good score. So I could take that one. However, if I do, that will come with it. That's a Destructive Energy. That will lose me a plan card. So if I decide to do that, I'll unfortunately also lose a plan card. I could take this level 4 Abduction. Now that's their favoured activity type, so for them they would get 2 additional points. It's worth 6 points to them. So I may decide that I want to take that to stop the Greys from getting that card. However, if I do, unfortunately, it's being currently guarded by this Military, so I would also get that Military. The Military, if they're at the end of the game, if I've still got that in front of me, I lose 6 points off my score. So I really don't want that card. But I may decide that I could get rid of it before the end of the game, so I may decide to risk that and purposely take both those cards. The Military themselves, if I wanted to, I could lead them to my opponent. So I could lead them to the Greys, and then they'd start watching them. But that way I wouldn't be claiming any activities off the scan. With the Harvest, that's my particular type. So for me, it's worth an extra 2 points. It's worth 5 points instead of 3. But as I've already said, it's also being guarded by this Military. So again, I would have to take the Military at the same time and hopefully get rid of them later on. It's also got this Positive Energy on the other side. So again, that would also come with it. And if I took that, I would in fact take all those 3 cards. That Positive Energy gives me an extra ET point in my score pile, which is pretty good. Now, I can't take that by itself, but I could lead that Skywatchers to my opponent. And if I did that, I would then get that energy card that would come to me, going to my score pile. So those are the different options that I've got, even before we start looking at what powers and craft I have in my hand. But let's start looking at what I can do with this. So first of all, we've got Warp Reality. So what Warp Reality does is switch around the order of cards on the scan. Now I've got a craft, So if I wanted to, I could change up to its advanced level. So I'm going to take you through the options of both. So with warp reality at basic level, I can switch the positions of 2 adjacent cards on the scan line. So what could I do with this? Let's have a look at the different options that would be available to me. Well, if I wanted to, I could switch the crop circle with the destructive, positioning that destructive card alongside that abduction. So on the Grey's turn, if they were going to take that, there'd be a negative energy alongside it. I could switch at the military and the abduction. I could swap the position of those two, and then that would block that one essentially with the military. It would also allow me to claim this harvest without there being the military alongside it. So that's another really great option there for that swap. I could switch over this and this, the military with the harvest, and then that would allow me to claim that abduction completely free, stopping them from getting it on their turn. I could also swap out over this and this, the positive energy with the Sky Watchers. Essentially, that would block this card. So maybe I want to try and take that on a later turn. So I decide I'm going to block it with humans around it, and then later on claim it. So essentially, making it a very negative card for my opponents to try to take from me. Now, at an advanced level at warp reality, you can switch the positions of all the cards on the scan however you wish. So I can completely rearrange those, and I could lay them out in such a way that any of these cards were freely available to me. So for example, I could put the humans down this end, have the activities at this end, and freely take any of those cards that I wished without any negative effects. Alternatively, I could do that to completely block their particular cards, so they're after particularly after this abduction. So I could move the abduction so it was between the Sky Watchers and the military, for example, making it very, very hard for them to claim that. So that's warp reality and the different things we can do with that. Now, dimensional shift. This is a basic level. I can actually discard any one of the cards on the scan and then redraw from the scan deck to fill in the gap. Now, I don't know at this point what's in that scan pile. It could be anything, and what I get out of there could be even worse than the card I take away, for example. But I may want to use it to get rid of one of these humans, for example. So let's say I wanted to get that harvest, but it's next to the military. I could get rid of that military, and then hopefully something nice would come out to take its place. Alternatively, I could do the opposite. I could use it to destroy that abduction to stop my opponent from claiming it. And its advanced level, it doesn't actually affect the scan. What dimensional shift does at advanced level is affect people's score piles, and it will allow me to discard a card at random out of one of my opponent's score piles. So let's say my opponent had already collected some very good activities earlier in the game. I could actually use that to remove one of those at random. So that again would be a decent option for that, using my saucer to advance it. Let's have a look at Terrorise. Terrorise is my particular power. It's auto-activated for me as I'm playing as the Reptilians. So this is great. What this means is that straight away when I play that card, it's at its advanced state without the need for playing that saucer. Now, at its advanced state, what Terrorise does, it allows me to look at my opponent's hand and then claim any one of those cards. And if that's not blocked by my opponent, it can be extremely powerful, because not only will I know what my opponent's got for future turns, but also I'll be able to take one of those cards and add it to my hand. So if I do that, if I play Terrorise at advanced level on my opponent, that unlocks whatever they happen to have in their hand at that particular time. Now, what my opponent has in his hand is Premonition, Hotspot, Shapeshifter, Mind Control, and Protective Aura. We'll come back to those. I'll go through the remainder of my hand, and then we'll return and see if I chose that as my option, what I could do with those particular cards. So as a saucer, we can't play that by itself. That's played to enhance powers. But if I happen to have two of them, I could use it to get rid of this Man in Black. At this current point, I've only got one, so I can't use it for that purpose. Our last card in my hand, Stealth Mode, another power. What this one does is allow me to hide from humans who are on the scan. At basic level, I can only hide from one particular human on the scan. So let's say I wanted to take that abduction there. I could hide from that military and I'd be able to take that. And the same way, if I wanted to take that harvest, I could hide from that particular military. At its advanced level, it wouldn't actually have too much relevance with the current scan line, but what it does, it allows you to hide from all humans on the scan. So let's say that Skywatchers was here instead of the positive, and that was between two humans. I could hide from both of them and take that harvest. So that's stealth mode and what we can do with that. So I said we'd return and have a look at what happens if I decide to use my Terrorise card. This is all within the same turn, remember. This is I'm using these powers before I'm claiming something off the scan line or leading a human off the scan line. So let's say I decide to play Terrorise this turn and it's not blocked by my opponent. You can use the missing time power to block actions by other players, but they don't have a missing time card, so they wouldn't be able to do that. So essentially they would have to show me their hand and I could now see those cards and I'd be able to freely choose one of them. There's lots of different options there, and depending on which one I choose, I could then use it straight away if I wanted on the same turn, or keep it for later, of course. So what have we got? We've got a premonition here, first of all. And it's a very interesting one. So premonition, I can have a look at either this deck or this deck and rearrange the top few cards. At advanced level, I could also claim one of those cards. So let's say I was after a particular type of card at this point that I really wanted but wasn't currently in my hand. I could use that to have a look through the plan deck, for example, and hopefully that power would come up in that. Let's say I need a second craft. But of course there's already another craft there anyway. We'll get to that. So that's one of the options available to me. I could also have a look at the scan deck and see what was coming up and see which cards were going to come out next, and stop some very nice cards from coming out for my opponent, maybe position them so they come out on my turn. Next we've got Hotspot. Now again, with this current scan line, that actually wouldn't be useful at this current point. What it allows you to do is draw cards that are either the same type, the same colour, or the same number of points. At basic level, they have to be alongside one another on the scan. At advanced level, they can be anywhere on the scan. But as you can see, there's no matching colours and also no matching points values at this current time. But I could take that and maybe it would come out on a later turn. The Shapeshifter is a very interesting craft type. With that one, it's an advanced type. It can be any of the other craft types. So it's essentially like a wild card for craft. So I could take that. And then once I had that with my Saucer, I could use both the Saucer and the Shapeshifter to get rid of that watching man in black on my turn, in addition to taking something off the scan. So that's another option for me. Mind Control, again, would be a very good one to use, especially at this point. Mind Control is related to the controlling the humans of the game. At basic level, I can switch a human that's watching me with one that's on the scan line. So let's say, for example, I didn't want this man in black and I preferred to have that Skywatchers. It would reduce my maximum hand size, but let's say I felt that that was a better option for me at this point. I could use Mind Control to do that, to switch that and that. Now, at advanced level, if I decide to play my craft with it, then it gets really interesting. That allows me to switch one of the humans that's watching me with one that's watching any of my opponents. So you can probably see what I could do with this. I'd be able to swap that man in black with their believers. I bring a positive human to me and I give them a negative one in its place. So that would be a very good option too. The last card that my opponent happens to have on their turn here is Protective Aura. And what this one does, it allows you to essentially stop other players from claiming certain cards on the scan line. So I could take that Protective Aura and then I could use it to block my opponent from claiming that, or that. I can put it down on the activity of my type, of my choice. Now, at its advanced level, I can also claim that at the start of my next turn, free of charge, so in addition to my normal action. So let's say I wanted to block out that crop circle. I wanted to claim that on a later turn. I could put the Protective Aura, play it at advanced level with my Saucer, and then it'd be blocked from them. And at the start of my next turn, I could take that card in addition to my normal action. Unfortunately, it's currently next to this destructive energy, so we'd also have to take that. But I might be able to use some of my other powers to get rid of this. So what we've just looked at there is a great overview of one particular scenario in the game, and you can see there this entire range of different options that are available to me, and that's just at that one particular point of the game. And these are the options and some of the choices you'll be making while playing UFO Wave. I hope that's been a very informative overview for you, and you've enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon for more videos. Thank you.